The Australian Institute of Criminology in 2020 released a report saying there was 5,669 outlaw motorcycle club members in Australia, 38 different clubs. 1 out of 4 members had been charged with a violent crime, and 1 out of 8 had been charged with participating in a criminal organisation. Here is a chart compiling all the current outlaw motorcycle clubs in Australia. Has someone threatened you with a motorcycle club? Is it real? And if so, what do you do about it? Hi, I'm Brooksy. When I first started this channel, I wanted to try and avoid negativity, my criminal past, and basically I didn't want to become another prison genre channel or another crime channel. I like to put hope into the community. I like to put hope to people out there who have no hope. People who feel that they've made too many mistakes, their life's over and they can't succeed. I still continue to do that, but I also will talk about some of my past life. And my past life, I was a member of 2 motorcycle clubs, what they call OMCGs, or outlaw clubs. I went to prison through my association or through my membership in these clubs, and I had a life that was surrounded by crime, violence. But have you been threatened by a motorcycle club? Is the threat real? Well, as we go down through this video, I'm going to explore that, and I'm going to tell you how a lot of clubs think. I'm not going to tell you secret club business. I'm just going to tell you my outlook and my perspective on the whole club situation and people being threatened by bikies. It's quite different to what you might actually think. We'll get into that up ahead.
David Brooks's existence is no longer confined behind the walls of Goulburn Prison. This morning, the ex-bikie, convicted on drugs charges, emerged carrying his personal belongings as a free man.
Here's some of my media reporting my involvement in the OMCG world. At this point in the video, I'll get used to like, subscribe, share, comment, and all the usual stuff you see every content creator on YouTube ask of you guys. Why? Because it helps the channel grow. I feel like I have an important message to get out there to who needs to hear it, and that's my way of getting you guys to help me along. Anyway, what is a threat? A threat is to threaten someone with an act of violence, to bring them injury, harm. They're malicious words designed to put fear into people. People use them to assert dominance. People use them to make you comply to their needs, to extort and to intimidate. My experience in the criminal world and in the motorcycle world, people who are capable of doing such things, they won't threaten you. If you've done something that's warranted their wrath and they're capable of doing it, they will not threaten you. You already know what that person or that entity is capable of before you've done something to anger or upset them. They don't need to threaten you. So think, who is actually giving you the threat? Whose mouth is it coming from? Because a person who is truly capable of doing harm or bringing that up on you, they will just do it. You won't see it coming. There'll be no warning. They don't need to threaten you. You cross them, you already know what's going to happen. Before we work out whether your threat come from an actual motorcycle club or not, we'll look at the definition of a few words. The first one being gang. The dictionary definition of gang is an organised group of criminals. For example, a gang of bank robbers. Criminals with a like-minded common purpose. The second definition we need to look closely at is club. An association dedicated to a particular interest or activity. People with common interests, for example, people who like photography or people who like riding motorcycles. One thing all clubs have in common is members. You must be a member to have membership of a club. The second definition we must look at is one percenter. It was termed by William Berry, who was the president of the American Motorcycle Association, saying that 99% of motorcyclists were law-abiding citizens. Well, the guys in these clubs thought that the 1% he was referring to were them. I don't see it so much as a criminal label, but they were nonconformists. They were full-time committed motorcyclists. The difference between a 1%er and a social rider is the 1%er makes the club their lifestyle. It's their family, it's their passion. Once becoming a member of a 1% club, you see it as a brotherhood. It comes first. It comes first before family, work, weekends, girlfriends, anything else. Loyalty to your brothers, your club's colours and rules comes before everything else. Whereas a social club is a lot more relaxed, usually not as strict or demanding, and for enthusiasts and people who enjoy riding motorcycles with their friends. Just some general trivia before I get into the main body of what this video is about. Motorcycle clubs, outlaw motorcycle clubs, the first one in the world, come out of California. It was the Hells Angels. It was around 1948. I've never been a member or affiliated with that club, though I've got friends that are ex-members in there, and they're great people. In Australia, the first outlaw motorcycle club, the first 1% club that came to our land, was a homegrown one from a town called Maitland, which just happens to be my own hometown. They came in 1960 and they're called the Gladiators, and they still exist to this day. Also with that club, I've got no affiliation, so I've never been a member of, but I've got a lot of respect for them because they're hometown boys, they're old school morals, and they're pretty solid blokes. I'll talk about being threatened by one of these clubs very shortly, but first I must define what is an actual motorcycle club, why are they called gangs or referred to as gangs, and what are they really? In reality, they're actually clubs. This gang bullshit come about when the government put that label onto these organisations. They're a club because they have an office bearer, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. They have membership. They have a common interest, and that's motorcycle. They're not a gang because a gang, there's no equality in a gang. There's no, like in a motorcycle club, members vote. The president is elected, and the president can be dismissed. It can be stripped. If there's a vote saying the president is not doing his job, is detrimental to the club, he can be taken from office. So what the government label OMCGs are actually clubs. Now this is very important. This is very important to whether you have been threatened by a motorcycle club or not. Because the only people that can speak on behalf of a club are members of the club. Unless those words have come out of a member's mouth, then you have not been threatened by the club. Yes, clubs are used to threaten, fear and intimidate people. Why? Because there's a lot of things unknown about them. There's a negative portrayal in the media. There's an agenda from the government through new laws, through new legislations, through misinformation to put fear into the general public. Even though I'm no longer part of this world no more, I'd still like to speak some truths on it. If I hang around or a person who's a nominee or a prospect, they're people who are either hanging around the club or on a trial period to see if they like the club or the club likes them, threatens you, forget it. The club hasn't threatened you. They've got no right to speak on the club. They've got no right to threaten you with the club. Coming from within a club, if a member has a problem and he's not man enough to sort out on his own, and he needs to run back to his brothers to get him to sort out his fucking problems, well, he's not an asset to any motorcycle club. He's a drain on the club. He's dragging the club down. Especially in this day and age with the laws here in Australia, a club is not going to run around and threaten its existence, its presence, by going around and sorting out everyone else's problems. If you've had dealings with the club and you've dishonoured that agreement, and the member says to you, listen, you better come good on the agreement or this is going to happen, well, then I guess that's a threat. But that's not just a random threat to a innocent member of the public, and it may not be about what people think about drugs or criminal activities. One club I was in when the club got involved was a person sold a motorcycle to one of our members, and that motorcycle was stolen. What a smart thing to do, to sell a stolen motorcycle to an organisation or a club that's under constant police scrutiny, constant media attention. And you know what? It's kind of, in a way, it's a smart thing, because traditionally a lot of motorcycle club members don't talk to police, and they won't put you in. They won't say, well, come through. They'll take the charges and they'll do the time for the stolen motorcycle. But guess what? You've upset those people. Do you think they're going to take that line down? They may not put you into the police, but when they come and see you, I guarantee you'll consider running to the police to save your own ass. So unless you're doing business with a club on some level or another, it could be normal, everyday, legal business, and it affects a club as an entire. Well, if you don't do anything wrong, you've got no problems. A lot of people in clubs will pay their way. Their word is their word. The old school people involved in these motorcycle clubs, I'm speaking on 1%, what they deem outlaw clubs, have got honour and integrity and standards. People mightn't see that. People might just see them as a bunch of scum running around lawless. Well, a lot of clubs aren't lawless. They may not follow society's laws in your eyes, but a lot of clubs have their own rules, and they're very strict, and they do enforce them. And a lot of clubs have got a no drugs policy. They don't like thieving. They've got, every club's different. I can't speak on it, but a lot of clubs don't want police attention, so they're not going to go running around sorting out other people's problems. So if someone threatens you with a motorcycle club, which does happen a lot, especially in the day of social media, some of these idiots out there who are just wannabes jump on Facebook, they join pages put up by the motorcycle club, so they can get along and talk with them. They might talk to one or two members of a club, and next minute they think they're part of it. Well, they're not. Don't pay any attention. Their threats have got nothing behind them. They're hollow. If they actually went along to those clubs and said, hey, such and such, they'd probably get dealt with themselves for being such a dickhead and dragging a club into something that they had no business with. There is a lot of threats under a motorcycle club's names, and the biggest person who uses the club to threaten people and who uses the 1% world to threaten people is the media. The media want to put fear into the public out there because it sells papers. They work with the government hand in hand. They have an agenda. The government is scared of any club that has a membership of people, especially motorcycle riders who are pretty well non-conformists, are heavily involved in trade unions and do have the power and numbers combined to give the government a problem should the government start to lose control. They see them as a problem to law and order, and they won't conform. So the government, especially pre-COVID, they knew it was coming, so they tried to smash a lot of these clubs and these organisations. They put out association laws. At the start, I threw some statistics about 1 out of 8 members of an outlaw motorcycle club has been charged with a criminal organisation charge. Well, do you know why? Not because they're criminals, because the government has criminalised belonging to a motorcycle club. They've labelled it a gang. And this is another reason why motorcycle clubs won't go around threatening the general public, standing over everyday people, because they've already got enough problems with the law. From being inside, on the inside, the most violence I've seen come from members is against other members. Not the general public, not the mums and dads out there, not innocent people, not people who have nothing to do with them. So there's nothing to be afraid. The big bad bikies aren't going to come down to your house and walk in and take your television, attack your kids, steal your car, unless you've walked into their world and done something to warrant their attention. It just doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. If you decide to go into that world, well then expect. If you're not the real deal, if you're there as a sightseer, a tourist, your heart's not in it, you're half-hearted, we can expect to be subject to some kind of violence. So if you have been threatened by someone inside who claims to know bikies, my best advice is to go online, go to Facebook, go to one of those club pages, ask to speak to a member online, which is quite easy, and be frankful and short. Don't waste his time. Just say, such and such told me you are after me. Is there any truth to this? Problem solved. You don't need to go to the police, because I'm sure the police don't need to run around wasting their time from people who's full of hot air, and I'm sure the clubs don't need to deal with the extra attention they don't deserve when it didn't come from them. The best way to deal with it is just go straight and approach that club. Don't go knock on their door or the clubhouse or anything. There's so many ways you can get in contact with someone and ask if there's any drift talk. And if there is any drift talk by something, which I highly doubt, say, how can we sort this out? How can we solve it? Because they're reasonable people. Because obviously, if there is truth, you've done something, or there's a misunderstanding, and they're reasonable, they will clear it up. The media and our governments have created all this bullshit. Hollywood's created all this bullshit, all this misinformation, all the myths, the stories, the fear. Because threats and fear go hand in hand. That's why the media and the government try and fear the public, because they're fearing us into conforming. They're fearing us into trusting them. Trusting them for them to look after us and ensure our safety. Well, your safety is your concern, and if you use your brain, you don't associate with people outside your circles that's involved in these kind of things, then you have nothing to worry about. Anyway, I hope this cleared up some misconceptions. I don't want to go into much into club business and that, but I can tell you a lot of clubs that there is criminals in clubs, but there is also a lot of good people. They're not about criminal activities, but some people do criminal activities. I can tell you for a fact from the clubs I've been in, we don't sit around in our meetings talking about criminal shit. A lot of notes are taken, minutes of the meeting by the secretary. So I'm sure we're going to sit around in these so-called meetings and plan criminal activities and write out evidence. If there is any criminal activities going on within a club, not everyone knows about it. Because why? Is that a smart thing to do? The more that know about it, the more chance they're going to come undone. Because unfortunately, this day and age, people talk. People get caught for shit. There's bigger sentences. So just because someone pissed off Joe Blow down the road and he comes to you because you're a member of a club, are you going to go sort out his drama and risk getting a 5-6 year sentence for assault, aggravated assault? It's not worth it. Me personally, I was involved in that world because I loved riding bikes. Things changed in my life. The police attention, the politics, it just wasn't for me anymore. And I'm out of it. And I'm on a new path and I'm loving life. I don't have to worry about prison. I don't have to worry about the police knocking on my door. I don't have to worry about not turning up to a run or doing something or saying something that I'm not meant to anymore. I'm free. Anyway, much love, and there'll be some links in the description down below, which will put through some government documents like the Australian crime, whatever it's called these days, AIC, which used to be the Crime Commission. There's a lot of literature there. I'll share on OMCGs. I share the Facebook page to a defunct organisation called the United Motorcycle Councils, but it's still got a Facebook page. I haven't looked at it, which were protesting a lot of the laws that come in. I'll include what links might be of interest to you. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some information out of this. I might in the future do some similar videos on first time in prison, how to deal and how to cope with it. There'll be no war stories in there, of course. As I said, this channel is about hope, improving, and you can draw on my experience. If you're thinking of joining the motorcycle club, I'm not going to tell you not to. I'm not going to tell you to go out and do it. I'm just going to tell you, for me, it didn't work. I got prison out of it. The laws in this country are stacked against you. There is a special dedicated task force out there to make your life hell. Don't think people will look up to you as some kind of hero, because the majority of society will look down on you. There'll be a lot of places you won't be able to go. Going out to the pub on a Saturday night or a nightclub in some states might be impossible. If they have information that you're in a club or no MCG, you get refused entry. Your life will change. Just be loyal to your mates. Be true and honourable in what you do. And you'll have a great life. You don't need a club. Like, share, comment and subscribe. That's it from me.